So Brogan, you're the Bond expert on the site, correct?
Uh, yeah, you could say that, I guess.
I've got a question. Who was the man with the golden gun?
It is the cheater in GoldenEye 64. That's who that is. Scaramanga, if you're actually
Oh,
wondering.
Scaramanga. Okay, see, I'm only familiar with the Scare anime.
Uh,
Da-da.
Tough crowd.
How's that for a cold open?
I think this is already an appropriate time to introduce yourself.
Yeah, where were you going with this, Murph?
No, I've just been sitting on that.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad we gave you an outlet for that.
I laughed.
See you next week, everyone. Oh wait, Murph is texting me now out of embarrassment, saying he wants to talk about Assassin's Creed Unity.
Oh yeah, I did. I'm glad you saw that.
Yeah.
Yes, I have been playing Assassin's Creed Unity for reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. My question was gonna be why.
Well, okay. So sometimes I just get a wild hair up my ass and I'm like, hey, I want to play every entry in X franchise. And the franchise for this year has been Assassin's Creed. Because you can get access to all of them via Uplay Plus. For like $15 a month, you get Ubisoft's entire catalog.
I see.
How has that journey been? Because that journey does not sound pleasant. To be nice. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on this. Tell me.
It's been interesting because I had a Wii. I did not have an Xbox 360 or a PS3, so basically that entire generation I skipped over.
Right.
So it's been
this
sort
is
of like
new, like you're rediscovering a lost,
yeah.
genre or whatever.
An obscure gem
Yeah.
from the era.
I will say of the first Assassin's Creed, I did not like it, and I very much did not like it.
Wow.
I think that game has aged incredibly poorly. And then it sort of increases in quality as you go up. I think...
Is it a steady increase?
Yes, I think they do improve on each entry fairly well. I think I have the fairly cliche opinion of saying Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is the best entry in the series.
Yeah. 3 was hated though.
I liked 3. I liked 3's ambition. Its main problem was it was too ambitious. It wanted to be too many things.
Okay.
But then you get to Unity, which was much maligned on release due to being a buggy mess, and people just generally being fatigued on Assassin's Creed.
Maybe the most fun I've had with Assassin's Creed was Unity. Just the gifs of the bugs.
Yeah. So I'm playing a very heavily patched version, where most of the problems have been fixed. I say most because I've definitely seen a pair of clothes walking down the street without a body in them.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's a
I remember
feature
that stuff.
at that point. That's a ghost story.
Yeah.
Any skinless faces?
No skinless faces. No, nothing really game-breaking like you would expect from a game like this. I will say of Unity, if it hadn't... So far, I'm like maybe 75% way through the story. If it hadn't been a rushed buggy mess on launch, it would probably be regarded as the best Assassin's Creed. And I'll stand by that, probably until the end. If you liked Brotherhood, Unity does a lot of things that Brotherhood did well and did right. It cuts a lot of the guff, a lot of the filler content from 3 to 4. And because in Assassin's Creed 3, it's like, okay, explore the continental United States, and then in Assassin's Creed 4, it's like, okay, explore the Caribbean. In this, it's just explore Paris, and it's a very detailed, very well done rendition of Paris. Save for one thing, and it's such a small thing to get right. It's a game set in Paris. It's about the French Revolution. Everyone has English accents.
You're right.
That's how it goes, man.
I think they address that in future entries where they, that eventually enough people yelled at them that they both added a female protagonist as well as, or like an option, as well as more authentic voice work.
But
well, I am not educated on this series well enough, so don't quote me on this, but I'm under the impression that after this point, they started to stop caring about necessarily how it's still commercial, but sort of like they cared a little bit more about historical and cultural interests in it. Like, I don't know what the one after that is, but like at a certain point in time, the Egypt one started getting a little bit more focused on the sort of depth of that. And to me, that stuff is way more appealing, and I like the direction that goes instead of like French people talking in British accents is also like a mediocre movie trope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it just seems like just what fucking mediocre movies do all the fucking time. So
it's not just mediocre movies that I'll say Hollywood.
And I would be willing I'd be willing to set that aside, like, oh, the cliche, everyone in Europe has English accents, but Ubisoft is a French company. They're based in France and Montreal. They don't have any French actors.
They're a French company, but they're also a multi-million-dollar company that is beholden to, customer interest, or like, what's it called, like focus testing and, just a very mass appeal. So,
and as an American, I can personally vouch that I would not buy a video game that has French accents in it. It's impossible.
No, I think Origins, which was the Egypt one, was the sort of a departure, and the new ones are following more in those footsteps. I think the next one was after Unity was a London one, right?
Syndicate, that was Unity and Syndicate were sort of released back to back, to my knowledge, and it was really the breaking point because they were just such rushed messes. But like I said, Unity does a lot of very cool, interesting things, particularly the combat. Up to this point, the games have been largely based on like that Arkham-style fighting system, where it's like you sort of beat down one guy and you press counter button every now and again. Now you have to time your counters right. Enemies will have like a little bar that flashes over them, and you've got to time it for when the bar flashes. Spacing is important, so you have weapons with different reach. You'll use like a spear if you're fighting a crowd, so you can keep guys back. Or like a heavy weapon when you're going mano-y-mano. It's definitely the most dynamic the games have ever been, and they also added in a feature where you can parkour down buildings now, instead of just leaping off buildings, which has been the standard for most of the series. The parkour feels really good, because you can really say, okay, I want to climb up, I want to climb down, I want to jump now. Running across Paris is the best the parkour has ever felt in the series.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an interesting endeavor. Is the Unity? So Unity is the one where you're currently at, right?
Yes, and then it will be Syndicate, and then Chronicles.
What's Chronicles again? Is that the 2D one?
Chronicles were the 2D ones, the ones where the fans got mad at them for relegating really interesting historical periods and settings to like basically mobile games.
Right.
Because it's set in China, India, and Russia, which would be all really interesting settings.
Did you do the spin-off one yet? Is that in the one where you play a female assassin?
Oh, Liberation?
Yeah.
I did play Liberation. Liberation is the worst entry in the series.
Okay. Wow.
It's mainly because it was a PS Vita game, and I'm playing it on like current hardware.
Yeah. I always had so. For some reason, I know quite a bit about Assassin's Creed, but I've only played the first one. I don't really know like specifics of like where the story goes or whatever, but some reason I have like a pretty good overview in my head of those games, because I've always thought they were they had potential from afar. I thought they always had potential, but I always wished that they were done by on the one hand, obviously they benefit from a company like Ubisoft and their resources, right? Just in terms of the scale and whatever. But on the other hand, I always wished that they weren't, they wouldn't have to be so, like large and suffer from the
open
typical
world
open world sickness that these AAA open world games always have, basically the design tropes of it, like the towers and the dots, the countless dots on the map and stuff.
The useless exploration side quests and objectives that bloat the content of a sandbox can definitely be aggravating. I only played the first 3 Assassin's Creeds, so all the subtitles to me are just confusing me. I feel very old and very just scared. I just feel scared.
I think, to me, a good sandbox is just that. It's a sandbox. It's not a mission hub. It's a place to mess around with crap. And Assassin's Creed, they just never really give you the tools to mess around with stuff. And, I mean, you look at the the map in Assassin's Creed Unity, and it's a mess with different sort of objective markers and chests to open and stuff.
Yeah. That kind of game design I always had issues with. But yeah, I mean, Brogan is also scared because, you usually just talk about games that, games that no one else is really playing right now. But I guess that's also the case for Assassin's Creed Unity, probably. I don't know how many are playing Unity.
You sort of get it has sort of like Dark Souls style online multiplayer where you will see the phantom of other people playing online and you can join the mission they're in. That was a big selling point for the game. I haven't done any of that because I don't trust people online. But I do see every now and again a phantom tailing me with the intent of being hey, join my co-op mission, and I'm like, fuck that shit.
Does it have still what I found super interesting? I remember I used to watch Giant Bomb streams of Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood, the multiplayer there. I thought that was super interesting. The online multiplayer was super interesting in that, like a versus type multiplayer.
I don't know if Unity has the versus multiplayer. The previous entries that did, like Brotherhood and stuff, on the Uplay Plus versions, the servers are shut down, so they're not even an option. I think Unity is the first one I've played where it has the multiplayer option still enabled. Like I said, I haven't touched them. I do remember, seeing the Giant Bomb streams back in the day of the multiplayer for, Brotherhood, where it's basically sort of like a Hitman-esque, you have to track down other players.
Yeah, right. You have to you're cloaked and have different disguises, right? And you have to figure out who the human players are, something like that.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Spy really Party. Cool. Y'all ever play Spy? This is a huge aside, but that gameplay formula reminds me of Spy Party.
Yeah, but it's in Spy Party, isn't in Spy Party only one person
It's only one. It's one person as a sniper, one person pretending to be an NPC. But yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of scary to think about that those it's like entire, not halves, not like it's not the half of the game, but it's like, entire game modes being rendered unplayable because of servers shutting down.
And
Obviously,
if you
that's
think
not a
about
new
it, like
thing at all,
money
but
or production resources, how much production resources were made to make a multiplayer mode to market the game to people to buy, and then years later that mode is gone, and it's wasted materials that could have either been towards, a better single player experience, or how much money did it take to actually preserve that multiplayer mode for future years? You know what I mean? Like, there's a loss there.
From a preservation standpoint, it's unfortunate, and I guess the only chance for those games is on PC. Where there's always a hope that there's fan servers running, but I don't know how. I don't know how if you can even do that for a game like obviously you can do that for like an old Battlefield or whatever. That's easy, but like I don't know how much like newer games like a Ubisoft game like Brotherhood or whatever, if it would even allow for that, if it even has an opening or whatever, so you can sort of log into a like on to community servers or whatever. Probably difficult.
Not, but I mean, it also goes down to if there's a demand for it, if enough people behind that specific, emulation or however they do it. Like, if there's enough support there, they'll find a way. You know what I mean? So, maybe not, is I guess the ultimate thing.
Right. So, and we found a way, by the way, to have a new guest with us. It's Murph.
Hello.
Good friend.
I'm the lovable wild card of the Twin Geeks Discord server.
Yes, the agent of chaos, man of the stage. There's many things that people call you.
Renaissance man. The most dangerous man alive. The list goes on.
Yeah.
I can't believe you guys are peaking with your 14th episode. Is this the 14th? I didn't actually check.
You should not ask me what episode number we're on. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but no, we're glad to have you on, and obviously we're going to be talking about Leisure Suit Larry later on, and we found, I think we found the real life Larry Laffer in you, so it's glad to have you on and talk about the game that was made about your life.
I don't think any of my middle school bullies said anything as rude to me.
But for now, you've brought another game. Also, like, if there's more you want to talk about your like gaming history, or like maybe some brief words on your relationship to video games would be nice, and then you can talk. You brought another game that you're currently playing.
As far as like games I like role-playing games with an emphasis on like the actual role-playing. I like games that give you the tools to sort of make a story in your own head, stuff like XCOM and the like. I think if I had to like put a hat on, I like games like XCOM. I like pretty much all the BioWare games. I've pretty much played through every Mass Effect and Dragon Age enough times to see every possible dialogue option.
Wow.
There's going to be a hot take central in the distant future regarding Mass Effect.
Oh.
But this is not the time nor the place.
I sense a premonition.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be 3 different endings, and each one of them is going to be a different color.
Okay, we are not here to talk about the Mass Effect 3 ending.
Go on, I'm sorry I rudely interrupted.
We are not.
I would say I'm also probably the resident Kingdom Hearts expert. I've played through each of those games, and yes, all of them about 3 times each in different formats.
Great.
I've been recently playing them, and I'm still on Birth by Sleep. By the way, I haven't really progressed since, but I've enjoyed Birth by Sleep. I think it's a little too simplified in some areas, but I like the world. I like the worlds in it, and I like the different characters in it. They're cool.
Birth by Sleep is it's interesting. I think it has a much better story and much worse gameplay.
Yeah, the gameplay and combat feel way limited. Like, I think, apparently, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix is the peak. We're not getting better than that. So, like, I buckled in for a decline on that. And I'm apparently buckled in for Dream Drop Distance being absolute garbage. So we'll find out when we get there.
Yeah. I remember, in my memory, the narrative on, like, you know, back in the day on NeoGAF and stuff was, like, that Birth by Sleep was often... considered the best one by many, at least.
Birth by Sleep is the most mature one, and that deceives people into thinking it's good when all they've known is, Gosh, Sora, we gotta stop the darkness from infecting Tarzan!
Yeah.
That's the best! Whoa. The best part of Kingdom Hearts is when Goofy says some batshit crazy stuff. That's my favorite part. No, but I agree. I think the story and like aesthetic and just like how they build the themes with the characters and their specific paths is cool. The combat's worse. I don't think it's debatable that the combat's worse than 2.
Yeah, it's so, like, I don't know whose decision was it to make the leveling up entirely RNG based, but I want to slap them.
In Birth by Sleep?
Yeah, so the way you get new attacks and abilities in Birth by Sleep is basically you either consult a wiki guide to know, you like combine different attacks in like a synthesis thing and hope it makes a cool new attack or some crap.
Yeah. That sounds crap, yeah.
Let me ask. Is there hope for Kingdom Hearts 3? I'm going into this hoping that Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be good.
Okay,
like at least like on some level.
You want the Kingdom Hearts 3 hot takes? I think Kingdom Hearts 3 probably has the best gameplay of the series. It is so pretty. It is so such a power trip. Save for the flow attractions. Don't use those. They're garbage. It has horrible pacing. Basically, you are going to be farting around for about 75% of the game, and then in the last 25%, they're going to hit you with all the plot. The plot is not spaced out. It's mostly Sora messing around with Elsa from Frozen.
You're not selling me. Uh-oh.
Great. Yeah, 3... always seemed a bit of a bummer because of the Pixar stuff to me. It's not the stuff I care about, but oh well, it was inevitable.
Yeah. The Pirates of the Caribbean world in Kingdom Hearts 3 looks incredible. When it goes to the cutscenes and like the frame rate jumps to 60 FPS, you're like, that is a live action Goofy in front of me.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to declare now on the podcast the first Kingdom Hearts with a Treasure Planet world and and a Black Cauldron world got me. They got me. I'm in.
Where's the Aristocats world?
The Aristocats are referenced in Traverse Town, I think, but they're not present.
Yeah, they are, but come on. I want that world. I want to do the...
Well, if you buy into the theories based on the ending of Melody of Memories, they may not be lingering in the world of Disney for much longer.
Wait, are they dropping the Disney stuff?
Do you want me to go into it because it's sort of a whole Kingdom Hearts theory thing?
Okay, no, I think we save. I think that's for another time.
Okay.
Or maybe after the podcast.
This rabbit hole's too deep for us right now.
Yeah.
I need to believe that Goofy's gonna still be around in my heart.
That would certainly be a blow to my interest. Let's put it like that. But yeah, I do have Melody of Whatever on my. I do have it.
Melody of Memories, yes.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, eventually I will do my own playthrough of the series because I've only played the ones I did play. I only played the original version, so on PS2 and the Train of Memories on GBA. So
I think right now, as part of Black Friday, you can get the all-in-one package for like $30 on PlayStation Network, and that has all the games.
That's how I got it.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal.
So.
I think they're on Game Pass anyway on Xbox. So
they have been. If not now, they'll probably rotate it back in. Cause that's
I think they are. But yeah, so that's how we'll play them. Anyway, so you like role-playing games? Anything else?
Let me see here. I'm just looking at my game shelf. I like stealth games, if that wasn't apparent by playing Assassin's Creed.
Yes.
I think last time you guys talked about Thief. I have not played the original Thief. I played the, when was that? 2011 remake?
New one?
Reboot?
Yeah.
Spiritual successor. I like that. Yeah. I like Dishonored. I love 2016 Hitman. Speaking of paddling back to Assassin's Creed Unity, if you have ever felt like you don't really play as an assassin in those games, and instead you just sort of play as this whirling combat ninja, Unity has like actual assassinations in it, and they're very Hitman 2016 style assassinations, where you'll basically be given a level to explore, you'll find entrances, means to cause distractions. There are unique kills based on where you're like, if you can lure your target into a specific area, like you can impale a priest on a cross if you want to be blasphemous.
I already do that in real life, but I guess a video game edition could be.
They call him Pavlos the Impaler.
I love stealth games. Obviously, I like Thief, but I love Splinter Cell. I think eventually we'll have to do one of those.
We're gonna bring Murph in for Metal Gear Acid. That's the stealth game you want, right?
Yeah, honestly, I have not been exposed to a lot of Metal Gear Solid. I've only played 3.
It's the Kingdom Hearts of stealth games.
And that, you know what? I did get that vibe.
Yeah, so one day we'll get there.
We'll see. Right. I think that gives us a good picture here. Like you like possibilities. You like, like you said, creating sort of your own little narrative, and like open games. Do you like Deus Ex and stuff like that?
I have the first Deus Ex. When I say the first one, I mean Human Revolution. And I keep, every 2 years, I will sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to play through it this time, and I just can't get behind the camera going from first person to third person. I wish it was just one or the other.
I think it's a delicate balance on things. Not talking about the perspectives. I'm honestly fine when things switch perspectives, but it's probably because I've played janky games that switch perspectives a lot. But if it's a game that's not predominantly stealth but includes stealth elements, there's a lot of times where they just completely fuck up. I think Deus Ex especially does a really solid job. I didn't play the last one, but like Human Revolution and the original both have like solid incorporations of stealth elements if it's not strictly a stealth game. They're still good in my opinion.
Yeah. So as it is always the case when we have a guest, the structure gets a bit loose, which is totally fine, and actually welcome. So
this is going to be a 2-hour podcast, and the last 10 minutes are going to be on Leisure Suit Larry.
I want to hear obviously Murph, which is a priority here. Want to hear him talk about the other game he's been playing.
I've been playing Pikmin 3 Deluxe since that came out on the Switch. I love Pikmin. I loved Pikmin before I even played the first game. I'm so charmed by the idea of commanding swarms of things. And I think that's because in real life, my greatest fear is swarms of things. I would often have nightmares about being attacked by like swarms of ants or bees or tiny plastic army men. So being able,
this can be used against you, right?
Anyway, Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I didn't have a Wii U, so this is my first time playing it, and I would say Pikmin 2 is probably in my top 10 favorite games. Pikmin 3 Deluxe, for one, the game is like beautiful to look at. That's like the only Switch game where I will play it docked just to look at the little details in the environments. I'm immediately saddened by the fact that they got rid of purple and white Pikmin and replaced them with rock Pikmin.
The rock Pikmin design's way worse than the purple and white Pikmin. I like white Pikmin especially because they look very similar to Harlequin babies, and that's such a grotesque thing for a cute children's game to me. Like, it's so weird.
I like how big the enemy designs are, especially the bosses. When you see, like, you have your 10 Pikmin dragging back this massive corpse to the onion, it tickles my fancy. Yeah, I'm having fun with it. I miss the treasures. The juice collecting is fine, but I miss the little Easter eggs of, like, that's a Duracell battery.
Yeah.
The gimmicks.
Yeah.
But you have a pizza, right, in the DLC?
A pizza? I haven't seen. I haven't really touched.
He hasn't picked up the pizza yet. He's not a pizza delivery man right now.
My God, there's a pizza in Pikmin?
Oh, is this your first time playing? I thought you may play it on Wii U.
No.
He just said he didn't.
Oh, then never mind. You know, enjoy the game.
A pizza.
Good job, Pavlos.
Sorry. I thought Murph would have known. Anyway, you don't have to say anymore. So it's not your favorite, but still a good time.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I don't know how far I'm in it. We'll see how it measures out against the others. I really like the challenge mode. Sure. That is the sort of thing I could probably get lost in for a while. Just the notion of doing the perfect run is very appealing to me in a Pikmin game.
Yeah, we talked about the first one. It was like one of our early episodes, which I obviously recommend everyone to listen to. And I think Bro and I are less of... We're not really experts on the series, so it's interesting to hear from someone who has a history with it. Are you also one of the many fans of the Pikmin 2 multiplayer?
You know what? I didn't have anyone to play it with. I bought a GameCube long after the fact, and I only had the one controller. So again, I don't know anything about the multiplayer. I prefer single-player experiences.
All right. It's really beloved. I forget what it was called. The
Bingo
mode.
Battle?
But, what's that?
I think it was called Bingo Battle, or at least they have a similar mode in 3.
I think people love that. Maybe when we meet someday, we should play some Bingo Battle.
All right, yeah.
At least it's not Windjammers. All right, everybody, moving on.
Yeah. So as far as having little creatures follow you around, Bro, you wanted to talk about pet games?
Yeah. So, my girlfriend is she's on a somewhat she's waxing nostalgic about Nintendogs, and so my big holiday gift for her is going to be every iteration of the fucking Nintendogs games, because every iteration offered different dogs or was a major upgrade in some way.
That's a couple of DS games and a couple of 3DS games, right?
Yes. Yeah. So that's where I'm at on that. I hope I haven't looked at Amazon on some of them. I hope there's not a secret this is a super valuable game thing. We'll see how much French Bulldog costs in real life. You know what I'm saying? But I wanted to say, in regards to it, thinking on it, I think that the potential of that genre is not mined yet, and And I think now more than ever, there's probably a high potential for a solid pet game, especially with like phones being like a major thing, or Pokemon needing a new direction. I was personally always a fan of the idea of incorporating separate lifestyle elements or gameplay elements to something like Pokemon, for instance. If I could play a Pokemon game that was actively having Tamagotchi elements and not just feeding a Pokemon a berry for a stat for a contest I'm never going to be in, I would probably enjoy the game more. Or if it's on the phone or whatever, enjoying a consistent pet experience on that. I think these are things that haven't been explored by developers in a proper way yet. Then again, I'm not an expert in the genre. Maybe there is a masterpiece I haven't downloaded. Who knows?
I think they've introduced some of these elements to Pokemon games, but it's always just small elements, you know. But yeah, it's an interesting observation that sort of the pet game went out of style, you know, Tamagotchi and Chow Garden or whatever. Although that new game, the new Junaka game is supposed to have a Chow Garden like thing. But
the Chow Garden was probably my biggest foray into pet raising. That's when I actively utilized the mini games and stats, where I actively cared about a creature's stats or appearance and stuff like that. Those stuff was really cool. I haven't heard about the new Yuji Naka game. I would actually look forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, Murph pitched us Spore, right?
Spore, yes. I have a storied relationship with Spore. Not sure if that wants to get into on this episode.
No, we'll do an episode for it someday for sure.
A dedicated Spore episode. I'm excited.
It is an interesting observation though that stuff went out of fashion, and I guess it was replaced. You know, the pet game was sort of replaced by petting anime girls in gacha games.
No, but see, that's the thing is like I think that gacha element is obviously appeals to a very specific kind of person, whereas I think the pet experience can appeal to a broader base if the base is properly marketed to, in my opinion at least.
Yeah, but they even cut out the petting and the rubbing out of the Western versions often. So how can it enjoy Renaissance if they even cut those modes out, those features?
Pavlos likes to pet the girls.
There's a big difference between petting your French poodle and petting your French maid.
I definitely have very fond memories of the Nintendogs, because it's so wrapped up in the DS launch, getting that DS, getting Nintendogs, getting WarioWare touched. It's very fond memories of that time, and played Nintendogs a decent bit for sure. Like it's not it got played. It was very it was a good way. I mean, it's ironic, but like the petting of the pet obviously fit very very well with the new feature of the touchscreen. It was kind of a natural fit there.
Sure, like if they released something for like the Switch, like a Nintendogs revival, I feel like the Switch has a lot of features that would make that ideal. Like the Joy-Cons, you could like throw sticks, or with the HD Rumble, you could feel a cat purring or something to that effect.
Sure, I'm sure there's some budget, like some terrible pet game out there, but yeah. Nintendo has not revisited Nintendogs.
It's a goddamn tragedy.
We know that they're listening to our cast, so it was proven.
When you see the new Nintendogs announcement, just think to yourself, the Daydreamcast was right.
When
That's all you got.
Bulldog gets announced for Smash.
Don't tempt them. They'll do it.
Well, we love our Nintendogs here, but there's some stuff maybe we don't love as much, and that stuff might be the subject here of some hot takes.
It's the Hot Take Central.
Also known as the Hot Take Minute, and maybe I'll start us off this time.
Sure.
I have a quick and merciless takedown of an entire genre and its fan base, and it concerns visual novels. Most visual novels, and there are a lot. The genre kind of blew up over the couple of years. I'm just gonna say most visual novels are terrible. Like it's a genre that relies on writing and video game people, and maybe not the best writers out there. Just gonna, I know I'm possibly enraging a lot of people right now, and it is, I'm being polemic, of course, but I've the visual novels I've tried, like the popular ones, it's always like people confuse very complicated and sort of I don't know, like crazy exaggerated writing and like plots and stuff with good writing. So stuff like Zero Escape, it is very complicated, but it's not great. And Danganronpa or whatever is even worse. It's just a really bad. It's just a really bad assembly of anime tropes and just bad character writing. And really, for me, for my money, it's Ace Attorney at the top. That series is fantastic. And then long gap until the next thing. There's some stuff like the Suda games, the early Kojima, which there's some cool stuff there, but for the most part, I mean, there's straight visual novels, and there's visual novels like Ace Attorney or Danganronpa or whatever, which have like other adventure game elements incorporated, and that stuff I think helps a lot. But visual novels. I mean, there's a lot of them, and like Steam is it's like flooded with them, and.
Well, we could get into what Steam is recently offering in terms of that.
Yeah, but I think they've become, I think, a comfort food, a modern day comfort food for many people, and the quality is secondary. Has become secondary. That's my hot take.
Okay, Murph, you go first if you have a response to that. I do have a response, but
response to whether or not not.
Do you agree with the take? Comments, concerns.
As far as like visual novels, I don't know. I feel like you basically know what you're getting into with a visual novel. Like, it's not going to be Tolstoy. As far as like them all being very complicated, I think that's just something that's indicative of like the anime genre that they're all aping. I feel like. What about you, bro?
All right. Now it's time for the takes. All right, I largely agree, and I think the real problem is when you look at like the quantity and you say it's so much, it's because of the amount of effort put into it. Whenever I play a visual novel, I become vividly aware of the production of it. And I'm not saying making a video game is easy. It almost never is. But all things considered, a visual novel is probably near the bottom of effort, right? So then you'll go into bottom denominators or whatever when you talk about complicated plots. Other than the anime thing, there's a reason for the complicated plots. The complicated plots fake suspension or like fake suspense. So like it's like, oh, I gotta keep reading, I gotta keep mashing the space bar or whatever. I have to know what happens next. But also it's a way to pad the runtime, because if it was just plot, if it was just basic character interaction, you probably wouldn't have enough content to warrant purchasing the game. So like the more you put into it, the more the player feels like they have a normal experience when it's at the cost of a good narrative. I don't necessarily blame the genre itself, but I think it's part of the flaws that produce so many bad ones. And when we talk about something like Steam, well, Steam has now opened the floodgates to all sorts of I would say not even bad faith content, but there's a lot of content on there that makes me worried about the marketplace, especially for the casual consumer or the young consumer. I'd be very worried about that stuff. To skirt around the issue and not talk about it out loud.
There's kind of, we talked about the petting, so got that covered. But yeah. No, for sure. Like, it feels a bit cynical, I would say, and pandering, a lot of those releases, and, well, I think that's enough said on that. So, let's hear the next one.
Murph,
Brogan,
you got it? I need to hear the Murph take.
Okay, Murph take a hot take. God, I don't know when I'll have an opportunity to say a hot take on the internet again. I have to make sure it's a good take.
Use it wisely.
Do you have a Twitter account?
No, stop asking. As far as a hot take, my hot take is that Jak 2, that is the second Jak and Dexter game, maybe overseas GTA. Known as Jak Renegade, that game has aged like ass.
I don't think this is a hot take. Keep going, but this is not hot.
So like I said, I like to replay franchises in their entirety. So I think it was like 2 years ago, I replayed through Jak and Dexter because they re-released them all on PS4. And let me tell you, Jak 2 was one of the most miserable experiences I had that year. If you think that Jak 2 has aged well, I know this is a cliche to say, but it's probably because you were 12 and you thought it was the most badass game you've ever played.
It's like GTA, right? It's like
yes. It's the gameplay that lets the game down, because they switched to like gunplay, like ranged combat, but they didn't really think it through. Because they give Jak no way to aim. You can't manually aim in the game. There's an auto-aim, but the auto-aim targets the thing that's closest to you, not necessarily what you want to be aiming at. So they'll have objectives where it's like, destroy this moving object, and you're running behind it, emptying a full clip into the object, and then like some enemy walks between you and the object, and you waste ammo on it. Just on top of that, the checkpoint system is bullshit. It's so easy to take damage, especially from enemies that are off screen, and there are so few health pickups, so you'll die and have to do the mission all over again, and it's just an endless loop. And also the driving.
Specifically talking about the water level, where you're on the water docks or whatever, like the water town.
Yes.
You gotta escort back. Yeah, I remember.
And where it's like suddenly you can't go in the water. Suddenly, there's turrets in the water. And then there's the mission where you're, like, in the sewer and you have to just defend these 3 guys. And guess what? There's friendly fire. So, and you can auto-target them. The guns auto-target the people you're supposed to be protecting. And it's bullshit.
Let it out.
Oh, my God. I will say the final boss has a hilarious death where he suddenly grows wings, flies into a metal structure, and explodes. For the bulk of the game, I didn't even finish it when I was a kid. That's because I started having the flashbacks. I was like, wait a minute, this game always sucked. And I never finished it. I finished it now when I was an adult, and that was mainly by relying on, you can do a little move where you jump and do a spin kick and press shoot, and you'll basically fire on everything in your vicinity. And that's how I beat the game, because those shots track, and they hit everything. They improved it in Jak 3. They improved it considerably by making the auto-aim less, I guess, sticky. It's easier to decide what you want to target with it, and also they gave you more gun types, where the gun types are just basically hit everything around me guns, so that's fine.
There's definitely, Jak 2, definitely part of that yet to be defined category of games, like, Shadow the Hedgehog, and, the Edge, the edgelord games, genre of games, where I have a clear mental picture of the people, because it has, I think, a fan base, that game, or like its defenders, and I have a very clear picture of them in my head.
The story's fine. Naughty Dog has always been good at really character-centric writing, and I think this was like the first game to start showing it. The story still isn't great. It doesn't really ease you into the new setting, because you're going from like Jak 1 to Jak 2. Most people notice the complete tone and setting shift, and it doesn't really ease you into it. It doesn't introduce you to this new world in a very coherent way, and they just act like Jak already knows all the mechanics of this world.
Yeah. Okay, that's that hot take.
Wait,
I wonder how hot it is.
Y'all motherfuckers just skipped over my response to Jak 2.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Number one, I mostly agree. I have played all three and completed all three Jaks multiple times. The best one is clearly Jak and Daxter 1. Yes. By far. I don't think it's a debate.
Yes.
It's just because it's like a Banjo-Kazooie thing where it's like just a very solid, polished platformer. When we go into Jak 2 and Jak 3, the real problem is it's not even the Shadow the Hedgehog thing, because I think it goes beyond the edge of tone. I think it goes into chasing fads. Jak 2 and Jak 3 try to throw everything on the wall and sees what sticks. I'm thinking of things like the constant mini games or constant mechanics that don't do a lot or aren't really useful. I think of something that's fundamentally cool, like getting the hoverboard. The hoverboard is a really cool idea for a GTA platformer thing.
Except it controls like shit.
In a typical thing, it'd be like, oh, awesome, I can just, anytime I want, pull out a hoverboard and grind on shit and utilize it in an interesting way. Problem is, it's never really utilized in a level very interestingly, and in normal free roam, it's almost never the preferable option. You should always take a car. So, there's no incentive to actually use it. It's not thought out properly. And that sort of thing is present throughout both 2 and 3 when you look at any sort of specific mechanic. I think 3 polishes the mechanics of 2, and I think it also has a better inherent mechanic of the big old cars and like the Mad Max Thunderdome racing shit. But other than that, I think 3's worse than 2. But that's just me. I think I'm done analyzing the take.
Do you want to respond to that, Murph?
No, he didn't really counter my take, so I'm content.
It was mostly agree.
I think Jak 2 suffers from a syndrome of, like, you liked it because you didn't know it could be done better. A key feature is they have these sections where you get in a mech suit. And those sections are awful because the mech suit takes up 75% of the screen. You can't see shit. And when you're a kid, you don't recognize that. You don't recognize, like, this could be done better. And now that I'm an adult and I've played games where, characters don't take up 75% of the screen, I can recognize, like, this is so much better. So yeah, that's my hot take. Your childhood is a lie. Jak 2 sucks.
Alright. Childhood is a lie. Brogan, what's your hot take?
Your childhood is a lie. Ocarina of Time sucks.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright. I'm glad you're distracting from all the people that are angry at me now.
Yeah. Sucks is a strong word. It doesn't suck. It's better than
a little bit of a strong word.
Sucks is a strong word. I was trying to be incendiary here. We're trying to be hot, y'all. I was playing it recently. Again, I've played it multiple times. Going back through it, and it dawns on me every single time that the game's not very satisfying anymore. It's very dated, and at the very least in Majora's Mask, which largely has the same sort of gameplay stuff, they have unique elements to it that keep it fresh or very different and unique. My problem with Ocarina of Time truly, inherently, is everything that I like about the game, I can also enjoy more in something like Twilight Princess. And I don't even like Twilight Princess that much.
Yeah. For me, this is not a hot take, totally with you. It's a good game. I would say it's a good game, but it's not more than that. Like you said, I think the standard... I prefer the 2D Zelda anyway, but the standard Zelda there's better ones, and then there's also sort of more interesting ones like Majora as well. So not a hot take for me. I don't know about you, Murph.
Let me think on that, because Ocarina of Time was one of those games where I played it long after the fact. I was probably like 15 when I played it for the first time, and I did sit down with like a attitude of like, okay, come on, greatest game of all time, wow me, and I was in fact wowed by it. I have not played it since then, so I am willing to accept that it has flaws. I think that its biggest flaw is most likely the camera. Just getting caught on shit all the time, but that's a problem that 3D games have always had, especially early in the N64 days.
Oh, and long after.
But it's a question of satisfaction, bro. Is that I take it?
I mean, yeah. Just when I play it, I am severely underwhelmed. And not even in the "is this the greatest game of all time" way. I never approach the game like that. More so, just like is the experience I'm getting out of this Zelda, the best way to have that experience. Whereas like other Zelda games offer specific things that I specifically enjoy about them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think what Ocarina and that whole sort of era of Zelda did right was the environments and the music, the aesthetic of it is very charming to me, and still very effective despite how dated it looks. I think as far as satisfaction, I can't contest you not enjoying something, so...
I find it interesting for me that I would say Ocarina is for 3D Zelda what A Link to the Past is for 2D Zelda, and for me they're kind of the vanilla, sort of cleanest representation of the template or the series, what the series is, and it's also the two that I find, that I find sort of like good but flavorless in some ways. Not like it's not the ones that I would ever like root for that would ever like capture me.
See, here's where I guess the heat comes from for me is I think Ocarina might be my least favorite 3D Zelda. If we're not counting shit like Link's crossbow training, I think Skyward Sword might be more enjoyable to me. Whereas Link to the Past, I still think Link to the Past is better than some 2D Zeldas.
I think thinking about it, cool, but I think that's what it shakes. Yeah, like I think that's how it shakes out for me as well. Then, yeah, because I like Skyward Sword definitely. I have a soft spot for Skyward Sword, so I definitely like that more. Majora is more interesting. Wind Waker is more interesting.
I'm interested in the hate mail now. I like this.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you, but I don't know about the people.
At the hour mark, we have been sufficiently hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. We and it's gonna stay hot here.
It's gonna stay steamy.
Yeah, steamy. It's gonna be steamy because our game of the week here is Leisure Suit Larry in the Land of the Lounge Lizards. This is a Sierra Online game from 1987, where it was released on the EGA, which was their engine for the adventure game. The adventure game interpreter was the AGI engine, but it's often also called like EGA versus VGA. The VGA was a remake, with more elaborate graphics, and also a shift from text input, the classical text input from old adventure games, to a cursor-based input, where you would do the specific actions you wouldn't type in, but you would have a mouth, and a hand or whatever that would grab stuff, and you would just cycle through those and click on things. That was in 91, so 4 years later they did that, and they did a Kickstarter remake. LO did a Kickstarter remake in 2013 as well, which we will talk about later. Just some quick words. The game came out on DOS and Apple II initially, but then hit basically all the other computer platforms of the time. Like I said, got that remake later, which also hit Mac and Amiga and stuff. It is based on a text adventure, which is the only text adventure that Sierra ever did, because they were actually dedicated more to the graphical adventures. But they did one which was called Softporn Adventure. It came out in 81 on the Apple II, and after their successes with King's Quest in 84, Space Quest in 86. They decided to do a remake in a spiritual, it is a sort of a spiritual remake or whatever of Softporn Adventure with this character Larry Laffer, who's kind of a ne'er-do-well, guy who just is looking to get some.
He's a horny little sex goblin.
He is an almost 40-year-old loser virgin who wears a leisure suit, and even when the time this is released, the leisure suit was not at high fashion.
Yeah.
And and he goes to the town of Lost Wages, which is Las Vegas, but not. You get it. It's a joke.
Oh.
And he is trying to get laid. My favorite mechanic in the game is when your breath goes bad and you need to take breath spray and spurts it.
Yeah. Well, okay.
You can keep going. That's it. That's all.
No. That's a good example. So the game is definitely adult oriented, but it is sort of in that soft core. Well, and even that is actually way too much. It is saucy, it is risque, but it's never really explicit. It always grounds it in humor, because it's a humorous game at its core. It's like the brainchild mostly of LO and Mark Crow, and it's got some other people that help them. But it's less like a small team. I don't know, 4 or 5 people I think were the main guys involved. What I found funny is that LO was before that at Sierra. He did the famous edutainment game Donald Duck's Playground, as well as the Winnie Pooh. There's a Winnie Pooh adventure game by Sierra, and a Black Cauldron adventure game by them, all on DOS. And they lost the Disney license in '86. So it's funny that they were doing also these Disney games, and then next up a game about getting laid. The sort of the adult oriented nature of the game is also exemplified by the quiz at the start of the game, where you have to answer 5 questions that basically are supposed to be designed to only be answerable by adults. The game was sort of released with basically no publicity, and then it quickly it sold poorly at the start because of it, but it quickly became a hit just by word of mouth and just by the reception of it and stuff. So it became very successful. That's the facts out of the way. Now let's talk about it here. Any first impressions on this?
You Murph, can get my first impressions, but first you have to play 2 hours of blackjack.
Yeah, not just that, but you also have to save scum it. You're gonna save beforehand and just keep spamming the buttons.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest detractor for the game. For those that don't know, you have money in the game, and the only way to make more money is to gamble it. And in the EGA version, you have to play blackjack, and the highest bet you can make is $20. And generally, I think for most runs they recommend you get up to $250. So that's a lot of blackjack.
And that 250, I believe, is only for the first part of the game. Because, spoiler alert, you lose all your money at one point in time. I'm not saying when or how.
And the game is even like, oh, just go play more blackjack.
Yes. Yeah, you get $10 after, and it's like, play blackjack, and you're like, oh, thanks.
What are you guys doing playing blackjack? Like, play slots. The slots is where the money's at.
Blackjack's easy. Blackjack's so easy because I can look at the cards and be like, alright, I'm fucked, or I'm not fucked.
Exactly.
The slots is the quick buck is that, in combination with saving. What you should say is, obviously, and I've talked about this before, when we did the Sam and Max, this is obviously a first Sierra game. I'm a big Sierra guy because I love the freedom of them. Basically, you're just thrown to this world. You have your items. You have my favorites are also the basically the EGA versions because of the text input. It gives the most liberty to interact with stuff and type in stuff that gets you a lot of flavor text and like Easter eggs and stuff. And you just have to be, have to have some imagination, use saves, because as those classic Sierra games had also the one of the main features was many different deaths and death states and death scenarios. So you can go wrong in a lot of ways. You get a funny it's all the writing of the game is, like I said, very humorous, and it's like. This is highlighted in the remake the most, and I think overdone. But there is sort of this a bit patronizing like narrator sort of perspective in the writing, which like the narrator sort of overlooking Larry's adventures and the sort of freedom of it, of choice and of puzzle solving and etc. It can be frustrating, and obviously no one plays these anymore without a guide. But I still find it very satisfying to just keep experimenting for as much as I want to, for as long as I want to, and when I just am done, then I just get a quick hint for the next step from the guide, and that's still satisfying to me. Obviously. If I had more time, I would try to do it on myself, by myself. But
I don't think this game I don't think this game has like a brick wall of logic. I used the guide as well, but there was points in the game that came naturally. To me.
Absolutely.
Like this game is not hard in terms of logic or puzzle solving. It's mostly exploring, being able to find the items, aka looking around, knowing which context to use, especially when you're doing the text adventure format of typing it in. You have to just be aware enough to know, like, hey, I should read the wall, or I should look in this thing. That's the extent of it. There's no insane sort of esoteric combining of items or anything. It's good for the most part.
Yeah. That's a very good observation, because I would totally agree, and it's good that you mentioned it. I wanted to mention it as well. This is one of the more linear Sierra games out there. Like, it's a very it's a very logical progression, and there's obviously still stuff where there's still items you can easily miss, and there's definitely some sort of how do you call it, like steps in logic that you probably wouldn't you would probably it would either take you a lot of time, or you just look up in the guide. But the thing is, when you fail, it often gives you some text which sort of indicates or gives a hint on what you did wrong and what you need to take care of, so that scenario is avoided next time. Because you basically did the right thing, but you missed something, and it gives you often a hint in the death text, in the death commentary, what it was. And but yeah, this is one of the more, because it's also a very limited sort of assortment of locales, which you traverse, by the way, by taxi. You always have to pay the taxi fare. That's where also the money comes in. And because it's so limited, and because it is, it basically, the way the narrative is set up, it's pretty clear what happened, where you have to go next. Like, characters all tell you sometimes where you have to go next. It's one of the more linear Sierra games.
So my experience with Leisure Suit Larry is, I think I did what neither of you did, and I played the text adventure it is based on. And as far as that, here's some fun trivia. If you pull up the box art for that game, the soft porn adventure, I believe it is the woman on the farthest right. That is Roberta Williams, wife of Ken Williams, and lead writer of the King's Quest series.
Yeah.
And Roberta Williams herself is a critically acclaimed developer.
Yes. I just found that funny. The text adventure, which I played completely with a guide because I cannot be arsed to draw a map these days, it's mostly the same. It's a lot less funny because it's much more sleazy, I guess is the word. It's one thing to, like, in the EGA version, to, like, look at a girl and you see, like, this sort of, like, pixel art of a hot woman. It's another thing to have, like, the description of the hot woman read back to you in this really sleazy writing style. It's a lot of, like, she breasted boobily towards me. Like, I think there's one line where I just literally facepalm. It's like, a woman walks out of the bathroom and her tits are huge. It's just... It's not...
Classic writing.
It's just not very well written.
This is the War and Peace of video
the original visual novel, except not visual.
Yeah. And a few of the puzzles are different. Mainly, there's a puzzle in all the versions where you have to get an apple. In the Leisure Suit Larry versions, it's not that much of a puzzle. You just find a random NPC. In the text adventure, you have to get some seeds and then find an empty plot of land. So you have to go exploring down the street, during which at any point a random thug could beat you up and end the game. And you have to find an empty spot of dirt to plant the seeds and then water it. Go away, come back, and it's grown into a full apple tree with an apple. I think that's the biggest difference. There's also a magic mushroom, which acts as a fast travel system. I'm
very grateful that you're recounting this, because it just shows you, shows you where the bar is in terms of what Sierra was capable of in terms of difficulty.
Yeah. I think that the Leisure Suit Larry version improved on the text adventure in pretty much every way. And then I actually prefer the EGA version to the VGA version. There's something charming about that very minimalist pixel style. That I don't think is quite captured in the VGA remake.
Yeah. I think, well, I think the version differences are one of the bigger topics here that I want to get to, because it really is very interesting to me. We can talk about it now, actually. So the VGA is obviously much more detailed, and in theory, obviously, it looks cool. Like, it's a cool art style, but at the same time, and this is exacerbated by the remake. I think the EGA version is the best balance in terms of sort of you obviously it's sleazy, but it's often again sort of mitigated by a cheeky or ironic tone.
Yeah,
and it's not. It's not.
It's a video game first, porn second.
What's that?
It's a video game first, porn second.
No, I would say it is about a horny guy, but the game itself is not. Well, it is the least horny out of them, and sort of that balance, the delicate balance, is it gets drawn. It's drawn into question with every further with the remakes, at least. I think Larry in the first one, he gets the now iconic look in the VGA version. That's how we now know him, and like a small guy with a bit balding at the sides, and very like long nose, and nose, and also like a very, very nasally voice.
Don't sugarcoat it. He's a horrifying goblin of a man. If I saw Larry walking down towards me in a dark alley, I would run the other direction. His head is twice the size of his body.
Yeah, and in the EGA version, you can still project, like you can. That's what I like about it. You can project a lot. You can imagine him as a normal person.
Yeah, he looks more normal in the original. I was going to say, in terms of all of these, there is that, even in the text adventure, the way Murph describes it, is there seems to be a slight difference in how the setting and atmosphere is done and the characterization work. Like, in my head, the example I would have wondered about when you were describing like the difference between characterizations of the girls, for instance, is like how mean-spirited or how pervy it is. You see, like, the thing I didn't like about my glimpses into the remake, the Reloaded, was it seemed like, number one, very heavy on the humor, very heavy on an ugly art design, but more importantly is it made fun of Larry a lot. It shamed Larry, but on the other side of the coin, it tried very hard to design the women as if you are Larry, as if you are as big of a horn dog as he is, and that's not a very settling picture. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And in terms of like the text adventure versus the EGA version or something, I was thinking of the original, the first prostitute. She's portrayed as very ugly, very sleazy, very like, get over here, let's just do it real quick. And I'm imagining that text description of her is probably very mean.
I'm trying to remember.
Sure.
The descriptions for any of the women's in the text adventure is so, like, it's like 2 sentences. It's letting you know what their face looks like and how big them titties. It's not, there's like no depth, there's no character. And that's what I think makes it a weaker game, because you don't even really pick up on, like you said, like, the hooker's supposed to be sort of ugly, that the woman who robs you is sort of sleazy as well. It's really... and I looked into the Reloaded version, and the Reloaded version seems much more in line with the text adventure, where it's much more about being, like, pornographic than it is, like, being a game or being an adventure.
Yeah. One thing about the remake that's, like, I think the general problem, I really agree with what Brogan said. I think, first of all, the voice acting is very egregious to me. Everything is voiced, which in theory sounds good, but again, that's another thing where the EGA version is, and I guess the VGA, just like the EGA allows you to sort of, picture a more normal guy and sort of have, keeps that balance where it's not where not everything is like grotesque and already like super cynical. The voice acting also takes away, or I guess the lack of voice acting also gives you an opportunity to read the text in a more sort of balanced tone. And the voice acting in the remake is very like, mean spirited and also kind of, patronizing, even more patronizing, and also it's just the amount of flavor text and stuff. Seems to be much more, but yeah, it clashes with the art style. They add the stuff that they add is kind of embarrassing. Like they add a new girl to quote unquote, I don't know, interact with, to date or whatever, to try to date. And that stuff is really bad.
It features animal abuse, which I was like shocked by, and it's not like. It's not like, oh, there's like a street cat and I'm fighting a street cat, because I think that, like, in my head, that's what I imagine adventure game animal abuse to be. But you, like, dip hot sauce into, like, a whale's blowhole. I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. We should say, just at least once, that obviously, I would argue this first game, it is not, it's like the EGA version and stuff. It does manage to, it balances the tone really well. I think it is, there's plenty of funny moments, which some of them I want to mention in a bit, but I think the writing is funny in general, but obviously it doesn't withstand everything in terms of like the time that has passed, doesn't withstand that test of like, obviously some stuff is, misogynist. And,
it does not pass the Bechdel test, for instance.
Leisure Suit right. Larry isn't very woke, is what we're trying to say.
Right. No. Obviously, it can be misogynist. It can be, some of the stuff. Not all the humor lands and stuff. But again, I would always argue that it mitigates that by not being the writing. It is about a horny guy, but it's not. The writing itself is not horny.
Yeah, especially, I think specifically, the EGA and VGA versions are probably the best example of being defensible to an extent. I think, like, I also briefly looked at the sequels, and I looked at the general tone of this series went, and, like, I will say, like, our criticisms of Reloaded are like, pretty similar. Like, the further sequels go, the more it becomes about the viewer being just like Larry, and that's not necessarily what I would want out of the series.
For sure. So yeah, I think that's very important to note that that this there is a distance between the writing and the character that's kept, and so. Let's get into some of the meat. Like so basically you start
phrase that better.
Like, you wanna, what's that?
Could you phrase that better? Let's get into the meat.
Oh, okay.
Murph's got something on the mind.
Oh.
Yeah. So basically, what I like in this is really the balance between the openness and scriptedness as well. Like, what I mean by that is, and I think that's just a general Sierra strength, why I love their games, is basically there's events that happen which feel like, or like also stuff that sort of where you're like, you're not sure if this is gonna work, and then it works, and then it triggers something, and like that stuff there, you feel like it's a very organic world all of a sudden, within the confines obviously of what it is, like this 80s adventure game, of course, but still there's stuff that feels so like natural and then plays out where you're like, wow, this is totally cool and unexpected, and it just happens, sort of lends or adds to the world, and that stuff, and then that stuff, if you do the right things, if you figure out the puzzles, which by the way, there's a score as in every Sierra game that where you can when you solve all the puzzles, you have a full score. There's stuff you can miss. Basically, when you solve a puzzle, or like it often leads to some cool or funny scripted moment. Like for example, when you court one of the women in the game in a bar. And finally you ask her to dance, you get treated to a pretty funny dance sequence. And that's what I mean by it's like they could have done just a quick sort of, I don't know, get on the dance floor, get off it, but they do a little animation for it, they do a little bit for it, it's fun. Or at the very end, the way you find a sex doll, and the way it deflates at the end when you're on the balcony, and then it deflates, and then you basically that leads you to the final woman. That those animations are pretty fun. And it's like you get rewarded solving puzzles. You get rewarded by fun animations still, and that's something that an adventure game sort of needs to do, I think. And this one does it well.
My favorite part about the doll is the doll gets its own. When you specifically talk to the girls in this game, they do a zoom in close up so you can see a detailed artist depiction of the person. The doll gets that, and that's very funny to
me. Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of there's a lot of funny flavor text when you show people stuff and when you forget stuff. There's a lot of deaths when you miss something, when you forget to do something before doing something else. One of the fun things is when you die, you basically land at Sierra online, like at basically their headquarters or whatever. It's like they got a representation of their own dev studio. They also appear in, you can call them on the phone and they're like, oh, we're selling you said Larry guide, game guide, if you want, like you can buy that now, etc. They have that stuff, that fourth wall breaking stuff or that meta humor in the game, and it works really well. Like in the Sierra studio, where you land, there's like a Graham from King's Quest there, like his sprite there, and they're like, basically they put a new head on a Larry body and say like that's what we have to do when you die. That's how we create a new Larry and stuff. Like that stuff is fun and adds to the discovery potential of like it's still fun to fail. It's fun to save and then quickly try out something even if it doesn't work.
I agree. Any thoughts, Murph?
Any thoughts I just about like the deaths?
I like the scoring system. I think that's a great way of telling the player that there's more things that they may have missed. Because when you get to the end of the game, Ken Williams comes out and he tells you your score based on like how many events you discovered or how many like interactions you experienced.
Yeah.
And when I finished the game with a fairly low score, I felt pretty chuffed, and I was like, oh, I probably missed some jokes. And then I went back in the VGA version, and I found pretty much all the jokes I missed, like talking to the flasher to reveal that it's two midgets in a cloak, effectively. That was very funny. Or you can miss very easily, there's a gag with like a comedian in the nightclub, and he plants a whoopee cushion on your chair.
Yeah. The comedian, yeah. Mm-hmm. He tells very bad jokes.
Yeah.
What I do like is he stops you while you walk. Like, you walk and then you stop, and then he says the joke. I'm like, oh no, how many times is he going to do this?
Yeah.
And compared to maybe some other Sierra games I've played, I do like that the puzzles were very straightforward. It was about the experience more than maybe the puzzling. I think the only one I could have missed if I wasn't using a guide is acquiring the knife, which is very important, and I imagine soft locks you if you don't have it.
Which one did you miss?
The knife?
He's saying he probably could have missed the knife.
Yeah.
So just to remind myself that you get the knife by giving the drunk guy wine, right? That's the way you get that.
There's a random, it's like the apple. There's a random NPC that will spawn.
That shows up at the liquor store.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have missed that, because I would just say yes to the things. And he's also like, hey, can you give me wine? So I think I would have caught that. I think the things I would not have caught are probably environmental clues, or I probably wouldn't have understood the geography that well. Like the floors in the main casino, I would have been just unhappy, just typing in buttons, going to the 8th floor, going to the 5th floor. I'd have hated that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you need the knife in the situation when you get tied up, if you don't have a knife, it basically tells you like you need something to cut. You you poor Larry, but etc. You if only you had something to cut the knife with, the rope with. So it basically strongly hints that you need something. You're missing an item,
Yeah, but I wouldn't have necessarily inferred that I get the knife from the bum.
Yeah.
I think that could have been represented better, like maybe he's playing with a knife when you see him or something like that.
That's fair.
Sure. Right. What did you think of the story?
The storyline?
Yeah.
Well, I think if you read the manual, which is included in the version on GOG, I think they do outright say that Larry works for Sierra Online, like he's a software salesman.
That's pretty funny.
And I think Al Lowe even said in a Reddit AMA that Larry was based on a coworker they had that everyone in the company hated because he would always come back from business trips talking about all the tail he got. Whether or not that coworker eventually found out he was the inspiration for Larry, I would like to know. As far as the plot of this game, I like that it's very straightforward. I like that you can it's a quest to lose your virginity, and you can immediately do it within the first 5 minutes with a hooker. But the narration tells you it wasn't satisfying. So you need to find a woman what is the text? It's like you need to find a woman that fulfills your heart. Yeah.
And
true love is done in a jacuzzi, y'all. That's the real answer.
No, they moved to the bed at least. But yeah, the funny thing is, when you get the full score, then at the end you just get the message you get is, it's not like, wow, you had a perfect score, well done, or whatever. It's like, I think the message is something like, you did okay, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good last gag. And I like also the euphemisms for when you finally get the finale, when you finally have sex. It's like the fire. You get fireworks popping off.
It tries to have a satisfying conclusion to it. It's like, yeah, you did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Right. No. Also, one of the deaths is that if you don't get laid at the end of the day, then you commit suicide.
What?
Have you seen that?
There's
some incel energy going on right there.
Yeah, there's a death where I forget when it's over, but eventually I don't think the game's on the timer. I forget what triggers it, but there is a facet where Larry goes, well, I didn't get laid. It's morning now, and I didn't get laid, and pulls out a gun and just shoots himself.
Jesus. Wow, he took the black pill.
Yeah, you can also die of an STD.
Well, yeah, that's why you got to bag it up.
Ooh, that's actually my favorite joke. That's my favorite joke of the thing. Not that. It's when you go into the store and you buy it. Because when you buy it, the guy asks you 10 questions. He goes, "Do you want it ribbed? Do you want it purple? Do you want it plaid?" And then when you walk out, like, he announces it to everybody. Oh, I'm like, this is a good joke. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the store is empty, and you're like, hush, hush, about buying the condom, and he asks you like 10 questions. He's very loud about it, but the whole time we're thinking, okay, haha, he's like loud about it, and Larry's being shy, doesn't want everyone to know. But the store is empty anyway, so. But then when he finally repeats your whole order, then a bunch of people from behind the shelves pop out and
declare
and
what
you.
a pervert.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty good. And one thing I wanted to add about this, what makes Larry stand out to me for it's not my favorite. Like King's Quest is my favorite series of them, but still, why I appreciate Larry a lot is the just very straight modern day urban setting. You know, you don't get that a lot in it's always like there's nothing fantastical about it. There's no, it's like just a city, just a guy. You're just a guy. I really like that very pedestrian setting, and just exploring just going to a store, or going into into a house, it's like a skyscraper or whatever, and just going to a casino or the church.
Is this your cry for help that the quarantine is getting to you?
Maybe.
I think modern day settings, they're underappreciated for RPGs, even though some of the best ones are modern day. Earthbound, Persona, recently Yakuza 7. It seems very good. I think we need more of that.
I definitely think the setting,
like quotidian settings.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm done.
Oh, okay. No, I absolutely agree. I think there's something special about how it balances it all with the character and stuff. And again, the worst it can be is if it can feel mean-spirited at points, and it could feel horribly dated or misogynistic or things like that. But especially when you go into the earlier titles or whatever, there's still a minor affection you have. Like, I don't hate Larry in the EGA version. I think Larry is a scuzzball, but at the end of the day, I think there's things about him that are semi-admirable. Yes. I say with a cringe, and like a lot of times he's played the fool. And he has honest intentions, or as honest as they could possibly be, about wanting to have sex, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. It is, as a whole, obviously it is a bit indicative maybe of a wrong attitude, but about love or whatever. Maybe not the healthiest attitude, but yes, I think I really want to emphasize that, and it was going to be unless we have more comments here, it was going to be, I think it is a good closing comment on this, that if you know Larry or Leisure Suit Larry from maybe this remake, or even Magna Cum Laude, or
the best one.
What's that?
Magnum Cum Laude, the best entry in the series.
Oh God.
There's also
Hot Take Central comes in at hour 40. There's
also the platformery type on 360 and PS3. I forget what the one was
called. That's like Blockbuster or
Box Office Bust.
A new one came out this year, I think.
Yes.
Wet Dreams Don't Die or Dry Twice or something like that.
No, Don't Dry, and the Twice thing is the sequel. That's already out. This year, yeah. So they did, since the remake, they've done two new games actually, and in pretty quick succession. So, and this year, recently the second one came out. Since then, much nicer art style than the remake, at least. I don't know if it's good, but yeah.
I've seen some of the reboot, I guess you would say. I had a friend that played it. My biggest problem at the start is Larry no longer looks like a goblin. My second
Murph
thing
is very pro-goblin.
Well, it's so,
I don't know.
It's so iconic to his character.
You know, see, I like the lankiness. Okay, to explain to the viewer or whatever, the redesign has him tall, but he's lanky. Yeah. He's still like balding a little bit, and he's still like clearly a loser. But like, yeah, he's got a different frame.
Yeah. And my main thing is, it looks like, I don't know if Daedalus Entertainment is involved in it at all, but it looks like Deponia, which is another bane of point-and-click adventure games. A lot of the elements look like Deponia, and I like those games, so I'll probably like this if I ever get around to playing it.
More like Deponia. So to finish my closing comment, if your Larry image is based on those horrific of those abominations and crimes against humanity, then of like that are magna cum laude and that horrible.
Well, point of order. In the last minute, the protagonist of magna cum laude is not Larry Laffer. It's Larry Lovage, his nephew.
It's true. I forgot about that.
Get your Larry lore.
So clearly, you, everyone at home, differentiated those in their minds already. It's just me that forgot. But if you're also like me and conflated them, then I think we encourage you to at least give these early ones a shot. I think at least 2 and 3 are also still safe. I don't remember. I would have to replay them, but I think those are also at least safe in terms of what we find. Still balanced in about the first one. And again, we like the EGA versions, but I like the art style of the VGA one. But again, I think it sort of like made some things, took out some ambiguity out of things that I think helped make Larry more human, and the writing sort of helps with the writing, so gives it some wiggle room, some breathing room in terms of how you interpret it, the tone and stuff. Yeah. So that's Leisure Larry. Cool. I'm glad we did this as the first Sierra game. I'm sure at some point
of the Daydreamcast.
You got us playing.
Yeah, I'm sure at some point we will do another one.
You got us playing a porn game in the middle of No Nut November. Is this the Thanksgiving episode?
Write us if you lost because of us. I want to thank Murph here for coming on. You brought some topics, like we talked about Assassin's Creed, which is kind of amazing. Not something I would have expected on this cast, but it's not a game that usually comes up. But so thanks for that, and hopefully we'll have you on again in the future for Spore and other stuff, hopefully.
I had a great time.
Yeah, no, you're great. But this does bring me to the question, Pavlos, do you want to discuss what's coming up for the next time and the end of the year?
Yes, we got 2 episodes left for the year. Next time is gonna be gonna be special, because we'll finally be returning to something newer, let's say, for our for our standards, and that's Mirror's Edge.
It's not Assassin's Creed, but it's ballpark.
We're gonna be playing Mirror's Edge. On 360 and PS3. I'm gonna be playing on 360 myself. And for the end of the year, we have something very special. We're gonna do a game of the year cast. But obviously we will have a spin on it, and let's just say it's not gonna be. I'm not gonna say what it is in. I'm just gonna fully tell you here what it's gonna be, but I'm just gonna say it's gonna be the game of some year. It's maybe not this year. How about that? Is that a good teaser, Brogan? What do you think?
That's good enough. So listener, check back on all the years of video games and think, what's a good one for this random podcast to choose? And
what year was Magnum Cum Laude released?
The last 20 years.
What's that, Murph?
What year was Magnum Cum Laude released?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Brogan, also, as always. It's a pleasure. And yeah, see you next time. Stay fresh.
Bye, everybody.